then, moving on to new business, we have recommendation from the Conservation Commission, printed out the email.
Were you able to check with Linda about the check?
I sent her an email, I have not heard anything back from her yet. She usually comes in on Wednesday, but because of bad weather, she may come in tomorrow,
Okay.
so I'll ask her in person when she comes in.
What
And then
checks
the
are
other
those
one,
for? What checks are those for?
It's for, the wetland scientist. For the
Oh,
Conservation
really?
Commission.
Okay.
And then the other part about forming a natural, resources committee,
Mhm.
I think we can wait on that until March.
Right.
Since it would be a volunteer committee, sort of like a broadband committee that would have just, be in place if the Conservation Commission is abolished.
So are we going to, since the checks haven't been done, it's been over 2 weeks,
But she's gonna check on that this week with Linda. So if they're done, then there's no need to,
okay, but if they're not done, are we gonna pay out of the general fund to get reimbursed?
we could do that, but I mean, if they're being processed, then,
Well, it's in process.
Is there multiple checks for an environmentalist? Or is there something else that you're paying for?
this is the check to the wetland scientist.
You said multiple checks.
I meant, I think there's only one that she's working on. If I said plural, I think I erred.
Can I ask what, in a nutshell, what the recommendation is? We haven't heard.
This
What's
is
this
all new to
recommendation?
us.
So, what they're recommending is, I'll read it. In light of the potential dissolution effort that will be considered by the town in March, I'd like to ask the board to approve conditionally the formation of a natural resources committee comprised of committee members, John Swan, Nancy Kamal, Ernie Hannaford, Miriam Caldwell, Ruth Duvall, and Michael Carrier, should the town vote to abolish the Conservation Commission. This committee would have no statutory powers and would serve in an advisory role only, forming and acting only in the absence of a town conservation commission. This committee would be no different than a broadband committee, as several town boards have created such in similar fashion. We would continue to meet monthly and continue to serve as stewards of the town's natural resources and report on our findings, etc., to the select board. The formation of this volunteer committee would only take place if the Conservation Commission is abolished on March 14, 2023.
As a town resident, I'd suggest you not do that, but that's my recommendation.
Well, and as I say, I mean, I don't think we need to act on it until March. And see what the outcome on the vote is.
Joe Beth, if I may, as Conservation Chair. In light of the fact that we might not have enough time left before the dissolution effort, and we do have an agreement, a proposal that we've approved with Mr. McClammer, the wetland scientist, time is of the essence. So in light of the fact that the treasurer has not done her duty.
3 minutes,
sent us
Bob.
back
3 minutes.
way before.
2 minutes.
So,
We would like to request that the board issue the check to Mr. McClammer.
3
And
minutes.
then you can go to the treasurer and seek reimbursement out of the, Conservation Trust Fund. So we would like you to act on that now.
I'm willing to, act on it in a tentative manner if the check isn't going to be cut within the next, I'd say, 2 weeks by the treasurer. Then our next cycle of AP is in 2 weeks. Then we could cut the check and be reimbursed from the Conservation
Are you
Commission.
bypassing the treasurer?
But the preference is to go through the treasurer.
Correct, but she's already issued the one check to Mr. McClammer for services already rendered. And she chose not to issue the second check for his retainment, so we don't wanna lose his services to another organization, whatnot. He's available, and we'd like to retain him, so, again, it's not a matter of, the Conservation Commission's already approved this, so we would like the board to, in essence, cut the check to Mr. McClammer and then seek reimbursement from the town treasurer.
Which is what happened the first check. So the first time
Right,
they
the first time was
engaged-
a matter of timing.
Well, this is the same thing.
Okay, but, I mean, Jeanette, do you have any information from the treasurer?
Nope, she was just looking into it to make sure that it was an allowable use of funds.
Okay,
We've already determined that it is because they hired him last year for the entire wetlands permit, so,
for a couple of years. you
Not for
know.
retaining.
so I would like to see the board move to pay Mr. McClammer so that we can retain his services
Not for
and not lose
retaining.
them, and then seek reimbursement from the treasurer.
The last time, I mean, it was a matter of timing. If we can do it during the normal process, then that's how we should.
I'll leave that to y'all, but
It would be
Time is
wise
of the
to
essence.
follow the rules.
Have you checked legal counsel on this? If you haven't, I
A couple
would.
years ago, and.
No, I'm talking about what you're talking about right now.
Right
Have you
now.
checked with legal counsel on this? If you haven't, I certainly would advise you to do that.
So, so you'll follow up with Linda?
Yes.
Find out the status. Okay. Any other business? Jeanette, Carol, Anna? I don't think so. Even public comment?
3 minutes? You can start your 3 minutes when I get there. I have a letter I'd like to have it read into the minutes. I'll read it out loud. Over the last 2 years, I asked this same board to remove John Alvarez Swan from any appointed position in this town due to his divisive and abusive attacks on anyone who dared to disagree with him. For 3 years, he has done nothing but divide Dalton for the sole purpose of keeping a local landowner from developing his industrial park within state and federal guidelines. His so-called environmental agenda is fraught with misstatements and deception. But worst of all is the vitriol that spews from his mouth and pen. It is time that he be removed from the Conservation Commission and any other board that he has been appointed to. The citizens of this town have had enough. The three of you have the moral and ethical obligation to protect the residents of this town from such abuse. 2 years ago, you claimed that your legal counsel told you that an appointed committee member could not be removed. That can't be further from the truth, as we have recently witnessed the three of you remove several members of the Conservation Commission. At least 2 of you claimed that you were upset to see the town so divided. Here is your opportunity to eliminate the common denominator in the equation, John Alvarez Swan. By not doing so, you are perpetuating the conflict and encouraging his fear-mongering and name-calling tactics. You will have no one but yourselves to blame for the mess this community currently faces. It will take courage to call out and denounce Alvarez and all of his antics. I hope you can find it within yourselves to do it. Finally, I'm going to leave you with his latest post. In Dalton, New Hampshire, a wealthy corporation aided by corrupt state officials preys upon the lower socioeconomic, uneducated, in a tiny rural town with promises of money for support for a landfill project for out-of-state trash truck hundreds of miles to the detriment of all. And with that, I bid you all good night. Just so you understand why the music was played. Maybe some of us on this side of the mountain aren't as stupid as Mr. Alvarez believes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do you have any other public comments? Do we have a welfare issue for non-public?
We do not.
Okay, that's how you know it.